elbows up Canada. Donald Trump's attack on Canada backfired big time. We're less than a week away from the elections in Canada taking place on April 28th. We already have the advance polls open. Over 7.3 million Canadians have voted during the advance poll period. That is record setting, and Canadians are going elbows up. What's up, Maple Meidas? It's been such an honor over the past several months to get to know each other so much better. And frankly, we always knew from the outset when the MeidasTouch network was started several years ago how important our Canadian viewers and Meidas Mighty, now Maple Meidas, are. And so it's been an honor to be on this journey together. And my, oh my, has Donald Trump's plan backfired, right? Donald Trump was going to prop up MAGA Maple or Maple MAGA. He had his hand-picked people, and they were running the MAGA Playbook, right? You go on the MAGA podcast like Jordan Peterson. Elon Musk endorses the MAGA Maple candidate. He puts his thumb on the algorithm and starts amplifying the MAGA Maple, which is the Pierre Poilievre Conservative Party there. And then Donald Trump started his rhetoric about he wants to annex Canada. He wants to make Canada the 51st state. He started calling Prime Minister Trudeau, Governor Trudeau. Prime Minister Trudeau very smartly gave the handoff to new leadership. The Liberal Party held elections. You had Prime Minister Carney stepping into the fore. You had the banker in Prime Minister Carney versus the bankrupter in Donald Trump, a builder in Prime Minister Carney versus a destroyer in Donald Trump. And Canada united, mostly all of the provinces united, the premiers, regardless of political party, really stood shoulder to shoulder, other than Danielle Smith in Alberta. She's Maple MAGA as well. She was trying to work with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago to have Trump and Musk interfere with the Canadian elections to try to help Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party there, win. That was exposed. They tried to have J.D. Vance's roommate and buddy from Yale, who's one of the henchmen for Pierre Poilievre, interfere in the elections with Donald Trump. The Canadians smoked that out. And Donald Trump continued his relentless attack on Canada's sovereignty. I mean, even yesterday in the Oval Office, Trump reinserted himself into Canadian politics. He said he wants to increase the tariffs on auto against Canada. He used the rhetoric of Canada should be the 51st state. And let me be clear to those people living in America who don't know. When Donald Trump says this ain't merely a trade war. These are words of war, annexation, conquest. It is the language of Putin against Ukraine. It is the way Putin says he wants to denazify Ukraine, is Donald Trump saying he's trying to get rid of all of the fentanyl from Canada into the United States, which doesn't exist, which is complete and utter BS, but it's pretext for Donald Trump wanting to have a war against Canada. Let's be clear about what the language is. So as Donald Trump attacked Canada, Canada went elbows up. Pierre Poilievre plummeted in the polls. This is the headline from the Wall Street Journal in the past 48 hours. How Canada's Trump-style candidate blew a 20-point polling lead. Pierre Poilievre's populist message, let's take out populist and say MAGA message, was resonating until Trump's antagonism, let's remove the word antagonism and use language of war against Canada, pushed Canadians towards a former central banker. Here we are from Polling Canada, which is a good job aggregating these polls with 5 days to go. All of the major polls, whether it's 338, CBC, Polling Canada, and Main Street, all believe there will be a Liberal Party majority, which was unheard of just a few months ago that would be the result. But folks, as we always say here, polls don't vote. Let me repeat that. polls don't vote. So everybody should be encouraged, no matter where you are in the world, in democracies, to do your civic duty. You take a look at the Poly Market polling data, and they're a kind of an open source betting site that takes the percentages of who they think is going to win or lose. So back on February 5th, Pierre Poilievre had an 84% chance of winning. Today, Prime Minister Carney has an 84% chance of winning, new high. But as I said, and let me repeat it very, very clearly, polls don't vote. Wagering doesn't vote. People vote. Wherever you are in the world in democracies, do your civic duty. Now, how bad is it for Pierre Poilievre, Mr. Maple MAGA, Mini Trump, Mini Elon? Let me tell you. The Conservative Party is afraid that he's going to lose his own riding, which for Americans is like his own congressional seat. They call them ridings in Canada. There are 343 ridings in Canada. And in Canada, you don't vote for like your president or your prime minister. You vote in your riding for who's going to go to the House of Commons. And then the party that gets either the majority or if you don't get a majority and you get a plurality and you have to form a coalition, that's who becomes the prime minister, the leader of that party. So the Conservative Party is worried right now that Pierre Poilievre is going to lose in his riding, which again is unheard of. I mean, in Ottawa. So that would be like MAGA Mike Johnson losing his congressional seat for our American viewers out there. Let's just go through the receipts, how badly Donald Trump blew it, or blowing it's not the right word. I think expose what was going on here, this right-wing authoritarian creep originating from Russia that pushed into the U.S. and we've seen these other authoritarian Viktor Orban style leaders, how that drift elevated by these right-wing podcasters was infecting Canada, but how it was revealed by Donald Trump's rhetoric, language, and behavior. Like all things Donald Trump touches, they tend to die. So here was Donald Trump on one of these right-wing podcasts just a few months ago saying how excited he was to work with Pierre Poilievre, whose views align closely with Trump. Play this clip.
Are you looking forward to working with Pierre Poilievre, the new guy?
I am. If that's what happens, certainly it would be very good. Our views would be more aligned, certainly.
Can we geek out for a minute on something? I think it's going to be helpful for you. It's called Fatty 15. Its co-founder, Dr. Stephanie Vin Watson, discovered C15 as the first essential fatty acid to be found in 90 years while working with the U.S. Navy to improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. It's pretty simple. Essential nutrients keep our cells healthy, which keeps us healthy. So if you want to get sciencey about it, studies show that C15, it works by strengthening our cells, improving our mitochondrial function, and protecting us against damaging free radicals. So if you feel like, how could I stop aging faster? Or I'm sleeping poorly or feeling sluggish, the bottom line is that many of us are deficient in C15, which results in weaker cells, which results in those things. So Fatty 15 is the science-backed award-winning vegan and pure C15 supplement that steps in and helps. It works in multiple ways. It repairs age-related damage to cells. It protects them from future breakdowns. It boosts mitochondrial energy output and activates pathways in the body that help regulate sleep, mood, natural repair mechanisms that support our overall health. So deeper sleep, smoother functioning joints, healthier hair, skin, and nails. That's essential, and the C15 helps here, and Fatty 15 delivers. So it comes in these gorgeous reusable glass bamboo jars and refill capsules that are shipped to your door quarterly in pouches made from recycled materials. I love that. Fatty 15 is on a mission to replenish your C15 levels and restore your long-term health. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Meidas and using the code Meidas at checkout. That's fatty15.com/Meidas, fatty15.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Use that code Meidas at checkout, MEIDAS. I'm bringing out all the receipts here, folks, because I want to tie this all together right now. So then Jordan Peterson, right-wing podcaster, has Pierre Poilievre on. They drop the podcast episode on Elon Musk's X. Jordan Peterson is asking Pierre Poilievre all these questions about woke this, woke that. It looked like a right-wing podcast interview with an American MAGA politician. Elon Musk lifts it up, saying this is a great, great interview. And Jordan Peterson declares this is the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre, Maple MAGA himself. And you go, Ben, stop saying Maple MAGA is not Maple MAGA. Really? Really? Okay. Let me come out with the receipts right here. This is what Pierre Poilievre said after that interview on January 8th, 2025. You could replace Pierre Poilievre with MAGA Mike Johnson, Donald Trump. You replace the name. Let me read this for you. You ready? Dr. Peterson has paid an enormous price to go up against the woke censorship apparatus. Thousands of common sense Canadians must self-censor for fear of losing their livelihoods with no way to feed their families. Sign to help me end woke authoritarian censorship so Canadians can take back control of their lives. Let me just show you a small portion of this interview, by the way, that Pierre Poilievre himself posted. So Pierre Poilievre, January 8th, he thinks he's going to win. He's spiking the football, and he posts this. Play this clip.
On behalf of all Canadians, I want to thank you for your immense courage and the personal political and non-political price that you have paid for standing up for your convictions and defending freedom of speech, because I know you have paid a very big price for that, but you have never bent, you have never backed down, you've had a spine of steel. And there are countless other people who will have the freedom to express themselves because you paid the price for them. So thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. It's been a privilege, far more than a price, definitely, and it continues to be that way.
Okay, now fast forward to this past week. You have Jordan Peterson going on, the Joe Rogan show. So Peterson's on Rogan, and Peterson basically says, and you see how upset he is. He's like, we blew it. Trump revealed the plan, man. You know, and then Rogan's like, yeah, but how didn't Trump realize that, like, you know, he shouldn't have said those things because he screwed the Maple MAGA in Canada. Here, watch this interaction. Peterson's like, we blew it. Here, play this clip.
Carney showed up just in the nick of time to save the burning damsel from the train tracks or whatever the hell it is. And
the rhetoric.
And then Trump, he just timed it so badly. And he didn't know. He didn't know what it would do. He didn't know. But that's also...
How do you not know that people have national pride?
Yeah, he knew that, but he didn't know what the electoral consequences would be. He didn't know that would shift them to the Liberals so radically. And he's going to pay for that, because once Carney is elected, if that happens, Trump will not have a more seasoned enemy in the West.
And again, just to show you also how creepy Pierre Poilievre is, Pierre Poilievre, and this is such like a Trump and J.D. Vance type thing, would go around conflating, he would call it a woman's biological clock. He's obsessed with women's biological clocks. He's like, age 36, women's biological clock, blah, blah, blah. Like that, like J.D. Vance, Trumpy. And he would conflate a woman's biological clock, in his own words, with Canada's housing market. Here, play this clip.
And of course, let's be honest, she said her biological clock is ticking.
Her biological clock running out. There is the drama.
We will not forget that young 36-year-old couple whose biological clock is running out faster.
The biological clock runs out in your mid-30s.
If you're a young woman who's got a biological clock, obviously, well, do the math. You know, you start off at, let's say you're 25. Well,
with their biological clocks running out. And I used to say that. You all said, oh, Poilievre's exaggerating.
So you take Pierre Poilievre and you contrast him to the leader of the Liberal Party, Prime Minister Mark Carney, who puts out this video. Let's play it.
Today, the Conservative Party released their platform. And it really only confirms what we already knew. That Pierre Poilievre has no plan to stand up to President Trump. It's no surprise. This is a new situation, and he's the kind of politician who's never changed his mind since he was 17, but always relies on a reflex to cut, destroy, and divide. And today's Conservative platform, with its phantom numbers, is no different. He wants to cut what Canada needs. With our plan, we will build to make Canada strong.
So then what happens yesterday? What goes down yesterday? You could see Pierre Poilievre being like, I could imagine what that he's there and he finds out Trump does it again. More 51st state talk, more calling Prime Minister Trudeau, Governor Trudeau. Watch what Donald Trump says yesterday in the Oval Office. Here, play this clip.
Asked Trudeau, who I call Governor Trudeau affectionately, but I asked him, why are we spending $200 billion to support Canada, to subsidize Canada? And he was unable to answer the question. I mean, why are we doing that? And I have to be honest, as a state, it works great. As a nation, considering the fact that most of the nation, 95% of Canada, what they do is they buy from us and they sell to us. They sell to us. If we didn't buy their oil, and we don't need their oil. We have more oil than anyone, but we don't need their oil. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need anything. So I said, why are we doing this? Why are we spending $200 billion? It doesn't make sense. If we need it.
And finally, let me share with you Bruce Fanjoy from the Liberal Party in an interview he did recently. Shout out to the interviewer here as well. This is the guy running against Pierre Poilievre because Pierre Poilievre is now vulnerable in his own riding in Ottawa. Watch this go down. Play this clip.
Pierre Poilievre made me do it. I recognized how tough a proposition it was to take on someone like him, leader of a party. But I also knew that from all the people that I know in Carleton, which are quite a few, he doesn't represent who we are, and I felt that given his propensity to accomplish nothing, his how he takes the riding for granted, nobody likes to be taken for granted, that he could be defeated.
So folks, as I said, and let me reiterate this again, at the end of the day, polls don't vote. People vote. No matter how you end up voting in that election, I think it's just important wherever you are in the world. I think it's just important to understand people's intentions. Why is Elon Musk? And why was he involving himself? What was all this woke talk, the similarities? What's going on here? You unpack it, you decide for yourself. But Maple Midas, let me say this. We're on a journey together. That's just the beginning. And it's been an honor that we've been the top podcast in Canada. It's an honor that you trust me and this network. We don't take that for granted any day. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate it. Have a great day and hit subscribe, and let's get to 5 million subscribers. Oh, by the way, you can go check out store.MeidasTouch.com, and we've got the Maple Midas gear, 100% made in Canada. The boycott in Canada is going strong, boycotting tourism. You've set an example for the rest of the world, Canada, about what to do and how to stand up to the bully. Canada, you're the front lines of democracy. See, I thought I was going to end the video, but I want to recognize a few things. It's very true. The courage that you've shown over the past several months is nothing short of heroic, but it's not over the past several months. It's the history of Canada. If you go back to the world wars, if you go back to who's always been on the right side of history in the fight for democracy over time. And as Prime Minister Carney says, as others have said, we've all, Countries make their mistakes. Countries don't all have these glorious histories, okay? But let me be very clear. Canada has fought for democracy in all the world wars. Canada's been on the front lines of protecting, preserving democracy, of fighting back against Nazis, and standing up for a peaceful, stable, loving, pro-democracy world order. Thank you, Canada. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
New Midas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.